as she carries you down, and the trees whisper poems of love when your feet touch the ground, and the mountains shed tears when they feel you pass by. They know you have returned, and the circle is joined by the birth of a star child. Now will you go, will you go, will you go, dancing with me tonight? Will you teach me to fly away to the places you see in your mind? Will you wrap me in a cloak of peace when you say your goodbye? For my heart broken too when I lost sight of you and the hope of the star child. Now will you show us?
I know you probably want to hear that song all the way through, but that's just to introduce my next guest, Suzee Utke. Her specialty being traveling the world, teaching Chinese energy medicine. And no, she's not Chinese, she's actually German, but she does know Chinese energy medicine. Now, there's a lady named Donna Eden who wrote a book. Suzee, what book was that, real quick?
Yeah, while it was called Energy Medicine.
Energy medicine, okay. Anyway, that's what they teach. And how to make your life better, how to heal yourself, how not to have to go to the doctor. I probably got in trouble for saying that. But Suzee, so off to Europe and then back, meeting all these British women, or from people all over, actually all over the world.
All over the world, and certainly all over Europe, from Norway, Spain, Portugal, many students from the UK, just about everywhere in Europe, yes.
And what was it like teaching over there versus teaching in America?
Well, it was actually interesting and a bit of a contrast, because the students over there, they all took the work very seriously, and it seemed like they had they were all top notch when it came to graduating them out of the program after their 2-year studies. They were really virtually all just on top of their game. I didn't worry about any of them, so it was they're quite serious about it.
So the British are better students, huh?
I hate to say it, but they're better students. It's true.
Oh, wow. Okay, come on, America. This is to encourage you. Give me a little brief summary for the people here. What is Chinese energy medicine and...
Chinese energy medicine, well, we just refer to it as energy medicine, but it's based on traditional Chinese medicine, which is, a practice that's well over 5,000 years old. And it's basically using the energy systems of our body to help fortify us and strengthen us in every way, not just physically, but also emotionally, neurologically. It's quite a beautiful method for working with your energies, and you're actually using your own energy. Your own energy is the actual medicine that you're working with.
Say that again.
Your own energies, the energies that you possess, that is your medicine. So what we're doing with energy medicine is we are strengthening, fortifying, clearing stagnant energy, moving energy so that the energies in your body get stronger. And when the energies in your body get stronger, everything gets stronger for yourself physically. Because when we're talking about energy, it's a little bit like health begins outside of the body in the energetic field before it can shift in the physical body. Along similar to the concept of everything is created spiritually before it's created physically.
Now, the Chinese are really the first people to understand energy. Now, isn't that woo-woo? You know,
Well, it is because, we would call it woo-woo now because we are now of a scientific framework that says that's based on data, such as if you can't see it, it doesn't exist. That's kind of the concept. If I'm supposed to believe that something exists, I have to see it, but it's just not the case.
no. But yet, really, in reality, you are showing something because the results from maybe doing a certain practice, there are results. And that is what you see, and then therefore you believe.
Right, over time. And sometimes when you're working with the energies, sometimes it's a one-time fix, as in you can test and check and see that something off in a particular meridian or a particular acupuncture point. You can test and see that it's off without actually having to visually see it. And it may just take that one fix, that working of that particular meridian on that particular occasion to create a healing situation. Or if it's a long-standing kind of chronic problem that you're working with, sometimes the body has formed habits, and sometimes it may take a few times to work through with a particular meridian before it will start to shift and move in the direction that you want it to go.
And not shift back.
And not shift backwards, right? Because it's like it's like learning a new habit. We have to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, and finally it gets into our system, and we can then our body then knows what to do naturally.
The invisible, you mentioned something in there, meridians, and immediately I'm claiming ignorance, but yet meridians really were the Chinese pathways in the body that they inserted their needles into.
Right. It would be like the circulatory system, which is very visible, and we are all, in Western medicine, we are all very aware of the circulatory system, the lymphatic system, the system of blood. This is the system of energy.
The meridians?
The meridians, yes.
Now, are the meridians merely conduits of some energy? I'm saying this because, they've recently discovered, a windsurfer Einstein dude discovered the unified field theory, which is an understanding of the relationship of all particles, all energy, and how it all mathematically fits together. And so he figured out that there's a relationship between all the different particles and the energy. So these meridians are a visible part of a bigger thing that has some things that are visible or explainable, and then there's the invisible things that we don't understand, what's behind it. Where does this chi, this life force, come from, for instance?
Well, some people would say that chi, the life force, is really our breath. Every breath that we take in is that chi force. And of course, as I'm thinking about it, I take in a deep breath because it's like, yeah, I want some of that. So that is the beginning initiation of it. And it's not just meridians as a system. That is a very, people that can actually see energies moving in the body, they can see very specific pathways that move in very specific directions. And in all creatures, the pathway is virtually the same. But there are other types of energies, such as radiant circuits, and the Chinese refer to them as, they have many names. They can call them, the strange flows, for example, because these are more unusual flows that don't necessarily travel a precise path like the meridians. These are flows that are sort of like an emergency rescue vehicle. When they need to come into action, when something can't move through a certain part of the body or through a certain meridian, the strange flows or the radiant circuits, they will jump to wherever they're needed to help, put the energetic paddles to the situation, as it were.
Yeah. Huh. Wow. So, you hang out with all these world-class healers traveling the country, and you share things that you're learning from other major teachers throughout the world. And you're right there. You're talking about, well, there's people that can actually see the energy flowing. Now, of course, they believe. That's like a person that dies, and comes back, and they go, look, I'm not afraid to die anymore because there is no death. On the other side, I've been there. It's beautiful, and what a wonderful thing to look forward to death as merely a transition into another universe that we quite possibly came from. And maybe that set of knowledge that we used to have, if that's where we came from, will come back to us.
Well, in fact, I had a student that talked specifically about it.
What?
The student specifically talked about that very topic. And he had an experience. It wasn't too many years ago. It was after his father had died. And after his father died, whatever happened released in him a precise and specific memory of everything that happened before he was born. And he talked about it being the deathless death. When you die, it's the deathless death, because it really isn't death at all. And he said there's absolutely nothing to be afraid of. And yet we live our lives afraid of that moment, or not even thinking about it, because we push it away because we're, who really wants to think about it?
Yeah, because maybe that was a hallucination.
Yes,
the
right,
guy,
right.
yeah, look, it's real. I'm somebody on an acid trip, maybe seeing some big, huge creature in front of them going, no, it's real. I can see it. It's like, well, look, bud.
No, he was a credible guy, but it was just an interesting topic for sure.
Okay. Well, look, we'll come back and talk some more about that. I want to share some music right now. Lucinda Drayton, someone that you had found in Europe while you were there.
Actually, she was part of the class, and she performed for our group. She was a musician that was playing for this graduation ceremony of these students, and her music was incredible. It brought us all to tears.
Do you hear me talk to you? I whisper through doorways and pathways of your mind, clear like the morning dew, and fresh from my journey, cross an ocean of blue. Take just a minute, come and rest you by my side. Let me tell you your own story. Let me walk you through your lives. Only a second, it's all it takes to realize there's 100,000 angels by your side. There's 100,000 angels here
You're listening to KBOO Portland. This is Dan Crothers, giving you some spiritual music without it being religious. And here's Suzee Utke talking about Chinese energy medicine, but yet she wants to divert here for a moment to talk about Lucinda Drayton, the music that you've just been listening to. Suzee, what is it?
Well, I was just going to say that there we were over in the UK, working with our last graduating class, and all these new students, maybe 70 students, now practitioners of Chinese energy medicine. And as a part of the graduation goodbye, Lucinda Drayton came to perform for us, which was rare. It was extremely fortunate that we were even able to have her perform, because she's she's a busy girl. But this song in particular was interesting because she got very intimate with the audience, and there were probably 80 people there that evening, and everybody was kind of sitting right down on the ground in front of the musicians, and Lucinda sat right down on the edge of the stage and sang the song called 100,000 Angels. And for some reason, as she went through the song, I could feel myself just getting very tearful, and it's like, why am I tearful? And I was a little embarrassed because, I'm sitting there crying basically, and she would look right at us. She on several occasions, she would look you right in the eye, 3 feet away as she was singing. And then I started to look at the other people in the front row, and then I didn't feel so badly because they were all welled up with tears as well. In fact, the head of the corporation, the father of it all, and his wife, they were both sitting there, and he was crying. So there's something about the music that touched everybody so deeply. Who knows why? The lyrics, the thought that there's always support and help for us, or something like that. I didn't even know the lyrics, but it was just exquisitely, beautifully delivered, and so intimate and lovely.
Yeah, it's reminding me of what we were talking about earlier, that okay, you have meridians, and then you have these things called radian circuits, and then you probably have these big oval things or rings, or those are things I see in my mind. You know, I
Well,
see,
you're mentally seeing maybe the auras.
and there's auras, right, and
there's auras.
chakras, and the spin of chakras,
Right.
and how they spin off into the meridians, maybe, or are governed by the magnetic structure of some other force, like the rings we were talking about.
Well, and the interesting thing is they're all interwoven by other energy systems. Things that we refer to would be the Celtic weave, which ties everything together, and also something called the Tibetan rings. And the Tibetan rings can sometimes be referred to as 1,000 points of light. And they are what form the crossovers in the body, because the body must cross over in order to be at its optimum, healthiest self. The energies have to cross from right to left and left to right and back and forth. The one figure that is critical in energy medicine is the figure 8, the infinity sign, basically. And that is present in every single energy system. In fact, it's present down to the cellular level, the simple figure 8 infinity sign. And what all of these energy systems do is they work together to create really a vibrant structure that we can't even see, most of us. It's pretty amazing.
Right. I'm so overcome by this need to dig deep here into what I'm talking about when since I've studied the unified world or field theory that puts together all of the different forces of life, the nuclear force, gravity, excuse me, and they all interact. And some particles, for instance, that should be on the chart, where you see aluminum and hydrogen and all that. There's particles that should be there that aren't there. But they're predictable. And so they've predicted these particles and then later proven that they exist. And the reason why we weren't able to know that they exist is because they're not visible. And even when they are visible after crashing protons together, they only last for a millionth of a second,
Wow, yeah.
So those particles, but they do exist. And now that we understand they exist, we are beginning to understand more about the building blocks of reality itself. So Chinese energy medicine is a very complex and infinite amount of knowledge is available on it. We're still growing. We're still learning. I know I've seen you come back from teaching a class and having hung out with other teachers and are still excited about the information that you're getting. Every time you go teach, you learn something.
Right. After 15 years now or more. And it's interesting. It's like the knowledge, it's never ending. And there's something about that that's tremendously exciting to me. The fact that there's always more knowledge. And it's not like I was about to say it's not like you need more, but maybe you do need more. It's just that it's vibrant and alive. The whole field of it is so vibrant and alive.
So what's next in your travels? I've heard you talk to music, and you kind of puts you in a zone. In fact, many of the lyrics I've heard you come up with, improvising with you, are very similar to this album. Tell me a little more about this album. Let's play a song, too.
Okay. Well, a little bit more about this album. This is actually called 100,000 Angels, and you can find Lucinda's music at blissfulmusic.com, where it's available for download. I can listen to every single song over and over again.
And all these faces and open doors when everyone else seems so serene, and I just feel so insecure. And where do I go when all the pieces of my heart lay on the floor? You say, come into the light, why don't you? Come into the light, why Come into the light, why don't you? Come on now, come into the light. What should I do when a gentle-headed reaches out to take my own? And how should I feel when tears of joy, they just won't stay inside these eyes? And what will I do when I start to love you and really trust and know you're there? You say you'll be in the light where I am. You'll be in the light where I am. Come on now, come into the light. You'll be in the light where I am. You'll be in the light where I am. Come on now, come into the light.
Ah, lovely. Well, I can see what you mean, Susie. Now, let's try another track here. And what track was that?
It's called Farewell to Music, which wouldn't that be a tragedy?
Yeah,
Number
what-
3.
Oh, I think we just listened to it. Ah, maybe not. In a world where people are shooting and scheming the death of fellow human beings, there's a whole nother language here to speak, one that's peaceful, one that's healing. In the conflicts of our lives, our daily lives, it's hard for everybody. We just need a little compassion. Just a little time off from the aggravation.
And sometimes music is just the healing balm that you need. It's interesting, music is directly, it speaks directly to the thymus gland, which the thymus gland is all about the immune system and really is actually the primary gland involved in a healthy immune regulation. And it can just take a few moments of music to shift your mood, your spirits, your immune system. How cool is that?
Huh. Wouldn't that be something if you could sell a CD to somebody and it guides them through imagery and into the teachings of the Chinese energy medicine, and they can actually learn how to do various things listening to the CD, and it has the right kind of music going. And so basically they go through healing themselves using the CD.
Yeah, that would be interesting, yeah.
Well, that's something we're going to create. There we go. Something that soothes. You know, you might have to tap somebody's head or tweak on their ear, pinch their ear a little bit to activate some circuit in order for healing to occur. But maybe also you could just tell somebody, now just go home and take a hot bath.
Yes, exactly.
And then turn on some soft music, not rock and roll, and have no intentions of doing anything but doodling around. Okay, there's your medicine. Go do it. And then they go home and they do it, and they call you back and go, oh my God, you wouldn't believe how wonderful I feel. That was just the right suggestion.
Well, we've probably all experienced something that simple that ends up being that impactful or soothing to the system, an agitated system.
Mm-hmm. Well, Suzee, let's talk for a minute about your classes. Maybe somebody would be interested in learning more about Chinese energy medicine.
Well, I will say this. Since I started the journey on studying energy medicine, it's sort of like taking a right turn in life, and you never look back. It's really shifted so many things in my perspective, as well as, gosh, it's a career for me now. So it's, shifted things for me financially as well. And it's every year I teach classes now, a year-long program that basically is comprised of 4 long weekends, and it's the fundamentals, all the fundamentals of energy medicine that you can do on yourself. That's the beauty of it, is you don't need to always go out seeking help from another practitioner. You can do this 5-minute energy routine on yourself every single day, and your systems will stay balanced. They will come into balance, and it's something you can do for yourself without having to rely on somebody else to do it for you, or without having to, pay hefty fees every week for someone to align the energies for you. So I teach this year-long class, and the next class is beginning in May of this year. And it's a journey, and it's a delicious one.
Thank you, Suzee. We'll be right back with more. I'm Dan Crothers. This is KBOO Portland, KBOO Radio.
In your heart, you know the right thing to do. In your heart, you know the right way to go. And if you don't have the courage, ask for it. If you don't have the power, pray for it. 'Cause you're the palest queen angel I've ever seen, and the whole world's protected by your wings. And though you cry where your tears fall, flowers grow. Cut the rope and the mountain will fall. Hold on a while and you could save us all. And if you don't have the power, ask for it. courage, scream for it, 'cause you're the tallest green angel I've ever seen, and the whole world is wrapped inside your wings, and though you fall, where your bones break, love is born. You're the palest green angel I've ever seen, and the sun is reflected by your wings, and though you cry, where your tears fall, flowers grow.
This is Dan Crothers. I'm here with Suzee Utke at KBOO Radio, Portland, Oregon, talking about Chinese energy medicine. Suzee, what's your favorite aspect of Chinese energy medicine?
Yeah, somebody asked me that over the weekend. They said, what is your favorite energy system? Because we work with 9 different systems. And I said, the first one I said was, radiant circuits, because that's, our capacity for joy. That's what the radiant circuits do, is they retrain the body and the electrical system and the nervous system to be able to experience joy. And when you work with them consistently, you get to a point of where it's difficult not to be joyful. What a concept, huh? And so I thought, it's the radiant circuits. Yes, that's what I love. And then I thought, no, it's the neurovasculars, because neurovasculars are points on the head that we hold gently with absolutely no pressure. It's about blood circulation, and it's about balancing the emotions. And it's a very simple way to do it. Even if you just have somebody hold the front and back of your head, I thought, yes, it's neurovasculars, because that's what balances our emotions. And I thought, and I sat with that for a minute, and then I thought, wait, no, it's not those two. It's the 5 elements, the 5-element theory, because the 5-element theory explains everything in life. It explains everything in the human body. It explains our emotions. It explains our emotions when they're balanced. It explains our emotions when they're imbalanced, because all of it is founded on not just the 5 elements, but the meridians that are involved with each season and each element. And I realize I'm just giving you a bunch of words now that maybe don't mean anything, but the 5 elements are present in all of nature. And let me just tell you what the elements are. It's water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. And those are the elements that we work with. And each one of those elements has a specific aspect that informs us about our life, that informs us about our emotions, that informs us about the world around us. So that's the one I finally landed on, was the 5 elements. That's my favorite system.
And explanation. When you say system, what does that mean?
It means that each energetic system has its own laws unto itself. Like, let's talk about meridians. Meridians, whether you are a lizard or a rabbit or a cow or a horse or a human, they all run a specific pathway and flow in a certain way. And they're pretty predictable. And they look very much the same in all people and in creatures as well. That's its own system. The radiant circuits, for example, the strange flows as referred to by the Chinese, that is an entirely different system that behaves differently than following specific pathways. It follows random pathways. It jumps, it leaps like fire. It leaps to where it wants to go next within the body to help charge the system up.
That's like in studying chemicals and atoms and all that, molecular actions. There's certain levels that have a certain amount of energy to it, or spin they call it. And that spin then might equal 1 megavolt, but then you have these bigger molecules that have these bigger spins at 3 megavolts. So in the body, you're saying that these different systems all operate in a certain category or limits, range of energy.
Right. They all operate within their own rhythm, let's call it. They've all got their own rhythm, their own system, their own parameters, let's say. And not only do these 9 different energy systems have their own parameters, yet there are energy systems that tie them all together. So they do become a unified field, as it were. So when everything is on board and things are working properly and at their highest capacity, yes, it's a unified field of all the systems, but each system has its own calibrations. So it ends up being, that's part of what makes it endlessly fascinating as you learn about how to work with these systems. And the funny thing is when you start working with somebody and you're trying to solve a problem, because let's just say, for example, their spleen meridian continues to test weak for whatever reason, and all the things that you do to try to strengthen it are not working, or they're not holding. You can work your way through each of these energy systems to find the one thing for that one person that is the thing that will make it stick and hold and become vital and get revitalized and strong. So I don't know. I hope that makes sense to you. But it back to the original topic, that there is almost an endless learning about it, which becomes very life-giving. It's very interesting, very fascinating, endlessly. So we like to, gosh, I could talk about it all day long, and I wish I could show you what things look like as they get corrected or worked on within the body. And it's lovely to be able to work on someone, and after you've had a session with them, all of a sudden they're going, man, I shifted. That feels so good. Whatever it is, even if it's a small shift over time, it's exquisite.
That's something I want to bring up right there. The noticeable effects of doing a thing, like for instance, pushing a point. Now you do a thing called diagnosis, or you would diagnose by holding points, checking a person's strength, right?
Right.
Tell me how that works.
Well, I think what you're asking about is the aspect of kinesiology. In other words, how do you determine whether, when you're testing somebody, whether you're getting an accurate reading on the information? And we have very specific ways of knowing how to get a reading. For example, if I test your arm is outstretched. There is depending on what the position is, there is a muscle that governs that arm. And if I just turn off the energy to that muscle or scramble that muscle, that arm will not be able to sustain its strength. So that's how I know I've got a muscle that's testable. Another interesting way to do it is to have a person give you a true statement and a false statement. For example, if their name is Nancy, I would ask them to say, my name is Nancy, and the client will say, my name is Nancy. I will test their arm, and it should test strong because on a true statement, the energy is running. The body knows that is accurate. The body understands that the energy is running. And then if I say, now say your name is Minnie Mouse, and they go, my name is Minnie Mouse, and you test them, their muscle is not able to sustain the energy because the body knows that's a full statement. It's interesting.
You could work for the cops or the FBI, you know.
That's right.
Well, we don't have enough money now, thanks to the Obama crunch. We can't afford to have the lie detector equipment, but we've got our girl here that comes in and she'll check you. All right, now what'd you say happened in this story? And then you test their strength. You go, nah, he's lying.
That's not true.
Again, what we're doing is we're dealing with the visible symptoms. We're looking at what we can get to see and deducing what we can't see by what we can see. Does that make any sense?
Wow.
Welcome, folks. Dan Crothers, KBOO Portland. We got about 15 minutes left, and we'll get to the good stuff. Okay, how exciting it all is. Suzee, I want to know where a person can go and find out more.
For starters, I would have people either Google energy medicine, those two words, and or go to Amazon.com and type in energy medicine under books. And there you will see a book by Donna Eden, and that is the title of it. And this is really the quintessential starting place for understanding what this particular brand of bodywork is. Donna Eden was a woman from Ashland, Oregon, and as a young woman, basically she was very ill. She was born without certain enzymes, the inability to metabolize certain things. By the age of 16, she had MS at 16 years old. And she, of course, kept going to doctors repeatedly, and they really didn't know what to do with her. And she got to a point of where they basically said, okay, there's really nothing else we can do for you, and get your affairs in order. Now, she was already a young lady, and so she decided, okay, that's it. I'm going to heal myself. And she figured it out. And she started really not knowing much, but she had the ability to see energy since she was born. So having that ability to see what was going on in the body is what really helped transform her. She thought that everybody could see exactly what she saw. And it wasn't until her late teens, early 20s that she realized not everybody was seeing what she was seeing. And so in working with her own systems and starting to learn what needed to happen, for example, she was bedridden for about a year as a young woman. She simply could not walk anymore. The MS was that bad within her body. And so she started crossing over, like right arm to left knee, left arm to right knee, getting the body to cross over in every possible way, because those were the patterns that the body was hungry for in order to help it heal. When the body's not crossed over, you really are operating at less than 50% capacity of what you're able to function at. And so she started doing this, and over time was able to turn around her health. And she's a fabulous 72 years old now, and she looks fantastic.
And she's always smiling.
Yes, her mother said she was born smiling. She came out of the womb smiling.
Whenever it's like, okay, let's turn it over to Donna Eden. It's like, woohoo! She just is always way excited. All right, we'll be back one more time for a little short interview with you. And anybody has any questions, they can always call KBOO Radio. Wounded hearts. Wounded hearts. Something that we end up protecting. No one wants to be hurt. And so we maybe hurt others in order to protect ourselves. All these patterns that we need to evolve as humans, as a species. And somehow we have to evolve beyond the war mentality of the mega corporate world of domination and profit making and control the populace and United Nations, one world government, all this stuff that is not leading to peace at all. It's leading to domination and control and loss of freedom. And with the loss of freedom comes the buildup of the desire for freedom.
It's an interesting thing. When I was over in England, of course, I encountered many students and had many, many conversations. And one of the students I was talking with was saying that somehow, I think she was married to an American, something like that. And so they had the choice of living either in America or living in England, Great Britain. And I remember her saying to me, I was over there, but I just didn't enjoy. I felt like there was like an oppression there. And she said, I really could not deal with the feeling of, it was like too strong, kind of the smackdown. She felt the kind of the feeling of being suppressed, maybe something to that degree. And she said, I didn't want to live like that. And so we came back to Great Britain. And I thought, wow, that's a comment. That's a comment from, just a student I'm having a casual conversation with in the hallway.
I want to thank you, Suzee, for being with me today. And any final parting words?
Final parting words. The thought that comes to mind is everything in our life is run by thought forms, and we can either choose to let the negative thought spiral us down, or you can allow the positive thought to spiral you up. I remember reading a book once, and it was based on research by physicists, that if you held on to a thought, whatever it was, for 16 seconds, after 16 seconds your body would start to vibrate at that speed, at that rate, at that whatever it was, whether it was negative, whether it was positive. So I guess my final thought would be, watch your thoughts. And stay happy if you can.
In Buddhism, they say mindfulness.
Yes.
That's what we need. We need a Senate full of mindful. Our rulers need to become mindful. They need to become examples of peace and loving.
Character.
Yeah.
And character.